Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a little random rambly video, where I discuss things about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that one, because I've been thinking about things and reading about things, and my brain is overflowing with various different thoughts about how the main character is, well, wrong. This is going to go well. Just a note to begin with that I have only played up to Unity. I haven't even finished Dead Kings at the moment that I'm let's playing, so I want to keep things... So I don't know a lot about what happens later. I don't think that will have an impact with the stuff I'm going to talk about, but I just kind of want that to be put out there so that no one starts saying, oh, well, in this game this happens. Please don't do that. I don't want to be spoiled. I'm let's playing things blind. So, the main characters. We have Alexios and Cassandra, and... well, we have one of them. We're going to choose between those, apparently. And I was recently watching, well, I say recently, I think about a week ago, I was watching a video by a guy called Long-Eared Fox. And he was talking about how that is a problem in-world. So if we think about it in-world, we have a character whose DNA is such a mess the Animus cannot tell us if they're male or female, and we need to make that decision. While at the same time it is a standard Animus game, and it tells us so much that in some cutscenes, I'm guessing, we'll be able to know exactly what we had for breakfast. Bit of an issue there. It would make more sense if we were given that at the beginning of the game as we were setting things up, and that then affected the bits of dialogue at the beginning when the body is apparently found. And you talk about the DNA, and it's like, and the DNA looks to be female or male. That would fix the entire problem, but apparently that wasn't thought about. Our character is also someone who comes out of a lost book of Herodotus. Now, that would be from Herodotus's histories. Now, the problem with that is we are playing during the Peloponnesian War, which was started in about 430 BC. The histories were written 440 BC, or at least that's the assumed date we have at the moment, so 10 years before. So none of them were written. Furthermore, the histories by Herodotus were written in 9 sections, conventionally named after one of each of the 9 muses. So that doesn't make sense. In fact, if we're talking about the Peloponnesian War, it would make more sense for it to be Thucydides who wrote about the Peloponnesian War. And you could then say there were fragments that were never kind of reprinted because of the Templars. Curse them. Although I think Origins happens afterwards and has a basis in the Assassins. And the Templars didn't start until the Knights Templar, which was in, well, the Crusades period. So I'm not entirely sure why that makes sense. But let's focus on the actual character. Let's put that to the side of whether choosing your protagonist is a good or bad idea. I think it can be a good idea. Maybe it doesn't work in this particular situation. In fact, let's also park whether having a female protagonist is a good idea. A few of my rants in Assassin's Creed Unity have been that it would make so much sense to have a female protagonist in that game because of all of the historical assassinations. There is only one recorded during the French Revolution, a fellow called Marat, who was assassinated by someone called Charlotte Caudray. So the only assassination we have in the French Revolution was performed by a female assassin. Why not have a female assassin be the protagonist of Unity? I don't know enough about Syndicate or Origins to really make a big deal about those. Let's park those and just think about the historical situation we find ourselves. So first of all, would a female protagonist make sense in this situation? Well, we've got mercenaries, and mercenaries were always men. So it doesn't necessarily work there. And some people will say, yes, but that's not what it is. This is a fantasy. Well, this is meant to be history. This is meant to be the real history. And Herodotus, or whoever's supposed to have written this, is not going to be the only person to have noted, hang on, there is a female mercenary. It was unheard of. There is legend of one woman fighting, and the gods turning her into a man so that she could actually be on the battlefield. That's almost certainly a myth, as are the Amazons, to show that actually this fighting stuff, that's not something women do. Now, of course, there were some women involved in conflicts, especially during sieges, where some of the big issues would be if you were captured, well, bad things would happen. You would be made a mistress by one of the attacking generals, or you would just be raped by one of the soldiers. And so many women would therefore go to the roofs, grab roofing tiles or stones or whatever, and throw them at the soldiers who were attacking. In fact, if memory serves, Pyrrhus died that way, being killed by a roofing tile thrown by a woman. They would also shout battle cries to encourage the defenders and to scare or intimidate the attackers, although it did often lead to more confusion between everyone. So women didn't actually fight that much in general. There are a few situations where women, who are queens in their own right, not queen consorts, would bring an army together, especially against rebels who maybe thought they were weak for being women. They would, as the person who brought the army together and was leading the army, traditionally would be required to go out on the battlefield, and so they did. But we're in a situation where maybe that doesn't apply. Admittedly, we know that we're being told that these characters are grandchildren of Leonidas. The problem with this is that Leonidas is recorded to have only had one son, and his son has no recorded children. Now, maybe there are other aspects to that, but if that's the case, we have to realise that actually we're the grandchild of a king of Sparta, which raises two very big questions. Why aren't we actually ruling in Sparta? I mean, based on what we can see, we seem to be, well, the closest person to the line of the throne. We are either the son, or the niece, or nephew, I should say, or the daughter as well, of the king after Leonidas, whose name begins with a P and otherwise escapes me. So why aren't we ruling Sparta? Furthermore, why are we a mercenary at all during the Peloponnesian War, fighting against our own people? Now, we want to add choice to the game. I understand that argument, but to think about it, either we are of the line of the king and maybe, for whatever reason, do not have a position there, maybe we're illegitimate, or our parents, or one of our parents were, and therefore do not have a direct claim on the throne, if legitimacy was even a big issue in Greek times, as it was during the medieval period. In that case, if we still have that allegiance, and we have an allegiance to them, why during the biggest kind of inter-Greek war during the Hellenistic period, Sparta and the Peloponnesian League fighting Athens and the Delian League, why are we fighting against Sparta? Or, if we've been cast out, and that is why we don't have the king, due to some terrible situation of usurpation, why would we even have the option to side with Sparta at all? They're the people who threw us out. Even in that situation, why do we have the blade of Leonidas? Why do we have the blade of Leonidas? Why isn't that stuck with the Spartan crown? So that puts us back to the position of being a mercenary. We are the grandchild of Leonidas. You would think in that situation that you would be loyal to Sparta. Surely that's what Athens would be thinking. Why on earth would they trust you? Or, if you've been thrown out, why on earth would Sparta? So we're at this position where being a female character doesn't seem to fit the history of a series that often prides itself on showing us the real, quote-unquote, history. We have the issue where we can't really be the grandchild of Leonidas. That just allows us to have some magical MacGuffin that doesn't make sense for us to have anyway. And we can't even really be a mercenary. Now, I don't know if we're going to be part of a mercenary band taking orders, or if we're going to be our own person, because a mercenary on their own wasn't really used that much from my reading. It seemed that you would group up and you would join an army, and that army would be led. So I'm not entirely sure where this is going to go. Now, of course, I've just read some things this week, and I might have missed some things. If you disagree, or if you know something else, post in the comments. So there we go, some kind of historical issues that I have just with the premise that I've heard of about the main character in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Have I been saying Origins? I think I have. Oops. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, to be completely fair, I love the idea of being in Greece. I love the idea of being set during the Peloponnesian War. I love the idea that we're kind of finally getting a full, complete game with a female protagonist. I'm just not entirely sure it fits the history. Having said that, I can very much see myself playing as Cassandra rather than Alexius come the time when I let's play this game. So I've got nothing against the idea. I'm just putting out a kind of random thought on the historicity of the whole situation. There we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for watching.